Hi there! We are going to make a mini album like this. This is my lay flat method of mini albums. This is a 6x6 and we're going to make a replicate of this, but I'm going to do the walkthrough for you and show you this one, and I will have 2 kits in my Etsy shop, and when we get finished I'll explain the kits. It'll be so that you can make a booklet just like this. These papers and the embellishments and the tags, they all come from the Creative Memories National Scrapbooking Day. So it's like homestead. We've got our chickens and our sunflowers, and we're ready for spring. Spring on the farm or in the country. And I love this gingham ribbon that I found. I got this on Amazon, but it is really perfect for this. So let's go ahead and dive in and do the walkthrough of this one that I've already made. And I've got photos of my family in here, family and friends. So anyway, just to demonstrate how photos could look in here. So we have a little flap there and more photos there. And then over here we got room for photos. We've got top loading tags. So here's our first tag. Happiness blooms here. Homegrown happiness. You got plenty of room to journal, or if you want to add a photo on there. And this is, see what I mean by lay flat? This is a nice lay flat method that I love using. Now this is a fence punch from Creative Memories, and you could leave that top open. I glued mine all the way down, but you could leave that open and make that a tuck spot. My friend and Robin and I, we like our wineries. We like to do those tours. So then we got tags here. And I use this for outdoor fun. It just seemed to fit in with that, but you could use it for anything. Just be happy. A beautiful day. More writing space. And then we've got more here. Another flap. This is a side flap, which gives us 3 panels on this side for photos and so forth. And then this back page, so I made this little, made up this ephemera stuff that you could, or memorabilia stuff that you could just stick in pockets just to show how you could possibly use the pockets. This also is a Creative Memories punch. Now if you choose, I'll do the walkthrough and you'll see everything. If you choose to buy one of the kits, and we have 2 of them available on Etsy, you'll get, no, not this stuff. You don't get this. You don't want that. You're going to get all the papers and the embellishments and the punched pieces already ready to go. And all you have to do is glue them down. And then our back cover there. So that is our lovely little booklet. And you see how many photos you can fit in it. And now we'll do the tutorial. So what you will need for this project, you're going to need 10 panels that are 6x6 of cardstock. You're going to want this to be nice sturdy cardstock. This is like 65 pound. It doesn't have to be crazy, but you know, you at least want cardstock for that. Then you're going to need hinges. Your hinges are going to be 1.5 by 6, and you need 5 of these. And you're going to score them in half at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and I'll have all these measurements down in the description. Then you are going to need your binding piece. You just need one, and this is going to be 2x6 scored in half at 1 inch, because you're going to fold it in half. Then the only other thing you need out of cardstock is you are going to need 2 flaps. Those flaps, the one member open to the top and the one open to the side. These need to be 5 11/16. I know that's an odd one, but 5 11/16, and then we need 6.5 for the tall part. So 5 11/16 wide. And let me tell you what that's close to. I'll get my roller here in a minute. And then for that, you're going to score at the top at 1/2 inch. Well, I say the top. One's going to be for the top and one's going to be for the side. But you just score it on this long end, on your 6.5 inch end. You score it at 1/2 inch. And then you are going to need ribbon. I usually cut my ribbon for this size mini book anywhere from 30 to 32 inches. You could do 36, which would be a yard, right? But anywhere from 30 to 36, you'll have plenty of ribbon to tie your little bow. And let me just tell you where that, that's the exact measurement, was the 11/16, but so it's just shy of 5.5. Just very shy. Oh my, no, 5 3/4. Sorry about that. Just shy of 5 3/4. So it's like, what? 1/16, I guess, down from that. Okay, so I don't think it would matter if you did it at 5 3/4. Make it easier for you. Okay, so to put this together, we can go ahead and set our panels aside, and let's set our binding aside for the moment. And we're going to work with our 6x6 panels and our 1.5 by 6 inch hinges that are scored in half. So we can go ahead and fold it in half, and you can burnish these, but this weight of cardstock folds pretty easily by hand. Now what you want is you want 2 of your panels to start with. So you need 1 hinge and 2 panels. Yep. Okay. And then I use, for this part, I use this Fairly Art Precision Craft Glue. I like this. It dries fast, it dries clear, and it well, it's very precise because of the tip. Of course, you could get a tip, any type on glue, but I like this one. I had to run and get some paper towels. I've changed where I do my videos, so I'm hoping this will work out. There's a little bit more light here, but it's just trying to get used to the new setting, so bear with me. But we do want some paper towels for when we're doing glue, just in case. Now, what I like to do is I just put a thin line. I want it closer. Now, you don't want to go all the way to the edge because you don't want it to go over, but I want to stay away from the center with the glue, because now the tips I give you are because I have learned from doing this, but you want to stay away from the center because then it can show up as you open your book. So now you want to take your first panel and match it up, and you're going to want to go all the way into the crease and go ahead and fold it down. Make sure your edges are meeting. And of course, it's paper crafting, so they might be off by a slight fraction. And someone really made me feel good the other day. I was watching their video and they said, well, you know, paper doesn't come perfectly straight from the manufacturer. There can still be, like, it's not always perfectly 12 by 12, and that made me feel better, so it's not just me. But go ahead and, since we're doing glue, you got a little bit of time to move it there. But that's about what you want. You want to be in the center. And then we're going to go to this other side and do the same thing. Put our thin line of glue closer to the outside than the inside. And then this goes right in the center, in the crease as well. And you can even fold it down this way. Get it up there and then fold this over. And while you still have some manipulating room or opportunity, go ahead and I find over here in this space, I'm not sure where my center is. I keep moving in and out of camera range. So you want your center nice and even like that. Make sure it still closes, and it does. So that is our first little mini booklet. This is what we want. This is one set of pages. So set that aside, and we're going to repeat this process. What I could do is go ahead and I'll speed it up, and I'm just going to repeat this same process 5 times. So what we have now, we have 5 individual little 2-page booklets with 1 hinge holding each. Now what we're going to do, I put this glue away and I get out my other glue here. Let me try to get that pin back in there. It's fighting me. Goodness gracious. Pin doesn't want to go in. Put my pin back in. Okay. Now what I'm going to use is the Beacon 3-in-1 because we're going to glue these together to make one booklet. So the way I start, this is how I like to do it. I like to have my booklets, my 5 booklets on my right. Then I pick up my first one and I put it over here on the left, just like that. So the hinges are together. Your open end, one open end is on this side, the end of this side, and the other open end is on that side. So you want to make sure the closed ends are together. Your 2 hinged edges are together. Then are in the middle. Then what you're going to do, now for this first one, I don't make a top loading pocket, so I put glue all over this piece. That's why I like to use this larger glue. You don't have to be as precise because you're going to put it all over here. You're going to be pretty liberal with it. Go ahead and get your glue. And this one is getting a little bit low, and I don't know if you all use this 3-in-1 or it's even like Fabri-Tac is the same thing. I find as it's getting low, it's harder to get out. So this is one of those times. But I go through it so fast, I can't keep them full. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick up this one from the right side and we are going to put it down on top of that. You see how I did that? And then you want to go ahead and get them squared up everywhere. So you want them to be totally square all the way around. I'll go ahead and give it a good burnish. I don't have any of my tools here in this space. So instead of stopping the video and going and getting them, I'm just going to go with my hand. It works well too. So now what we've got for this first little bit, we have got our cover, page 1, inside cover, page 1, page 2, page 3, and, well, really that won't be page 4. So we've got 3 pages, our cover, inside cover, page 2 and 3. And that is going to be 4, but you'll see what I mean. So our next one, I want to do a top loading, okay? So I'm going to make a U shape. So I'm going to come down, just down the one side, over and up the other side. So just like that, and you still want to be kind of liberal because we want this to stay together. Don't want any breakups. I'm just checking that I'm recording. Sometimes that is like, I get paranoid about that. Did I hit record? Okay, so that is going to give us a top loading pocket. And what I have learned with working with students is now is the time to put your tag in so that you remember. If you do it this way and stay consistent, you won't get it mixed up, but I've had a lot of people, they end up with it upside down. In other words, somehow they end up gluing that to that, so then the pocket's on the bottom instead of the top. So to avoid that, what we do, we go ahead, and it wouldn't even have to be one of your, it wouldn't have to be one of your tags, but we have to put something in there so that we know we have a pocket, and that should be right here on that one. And you don't have to put it all the way in because your glue might still be a little wet and you don't want to get it stuck. But put something in that pocket so that you remember this is the top of your booklet. Okay, now the next one, I am going to, let's see how many we have left. We could put, yeah, we want to go ahead and make this one a pocket too. I think that's the way I did it in my original ones. So we'll go ahead and put a pocket here. Or you know what? Maybe I did put it toward the back. Now let's do that. So I mean, really, so I don't mean to confuse you. You can put your top loading pockets anywhere. You could have top loading pockets in every single one. You would just, instead of gluing the whole thing, you would just make your U. Or you could have no top loading pockets. You could also, I have done some where I've done side loading pockets. So in that case, you would put your glue here and here and here, and then you could slide something in a pocket that way. So you have all those possibilities when you're putting these together, when you're putting all your little, the 2-page booklets together with the one hinge, is your time to do whatever pockets you want or put it together however you want. So then we're going to take this one and put that on top of there. And just square everything up. And this is how we get our flat laying booklets. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead, my glue's getting a little clumpy there. Go ahead and do a pocket here. So let's do our U shape again. Okay, and then we're going to put this last one on top, and then we're going to have a pocket there. And now we know this is the top. We're not going to get that mixed up, but if you want to remember where your pockets are, you could go ahead and put something in to remind you there's a pocket there. Let me just get another piece. I've got this tag. So this tag actually comes with the kit. So let me go ahead and put the tag in here. And so then you have got your booklet. Okay? You've got this much of your booklet done. Now what we need to do is put our hinge on. We could go ahead, let's do, before we put the final binding, I said hinge, I meant binding. Before we put the final binding on though, and the ribbon, let's go ahead and put our panels in. So this first panel, if you'll recall, goes on this first page, so that when you first open it up, there's my book. So that when you first open it up, if you open it up correctly, you have this panel there. And I actually made those shorter. Interesting, I hadn't paid attention that I made that shorter. What we could do is score. I think I do like it shorter like that. Yeah, because this is going to be, the only other thing is, if you wanted to have them still this size, you could have ribbon hanging down there, because sometimes I really like to see ribbon hanging down below, but I also kind of liked how that worked out. So what we could do is score this further down. Let's do that instead. I mean, we could trim it, or we could score it further. Oh, you know, yeah. Let's trim it instead, because I don't know that I want that big of a gap like that. Hang on. Okay, so I trimmed that down. So this part is 5.5, so your whole thing would be 6. So we need to change, and I'll change it down in the notes. This would be 5 11/16, or what do we say, 5 3/4 by 6. Okay, so instead of 6.5, it'd be 6, and then you're still going to score it at 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and get that on, and I think I'll go back to my Barely art glue for this. And we're just going to go ahead, and you know what, sometimes I'll also like to do is give these, so they don't get bulky up there, just give that a little edge there. Give that a little slant. And then that takes care of any bulk that might have gathered up there with all that paper coming together. Okay, that might have been more than I needed, so it might come out some, but I do like how this dries clear. I'm going to turn it upside down just for the purpose of matching this up. So you're going to want to put it on the top. And you can leave a little bit of lip there, but I do want to center it. So I want to get it centered and straight. There we go. And then you can open it and do the same thing there. Burnish it a little bit. Looks like it might be slightly crooked. There we go. Very good. Okay. So that's that flap. And then I need to cut this one. So it's 6.5. I'm gonna make it 6 altogether, which will give me 5.5 on here. And then that one, if you'll recall, that goes on our back one here. So the second one to the end. Let's go ahead and get it folded and take these little edges off. Corners, I guess, not edges, corners. So let's just go back to our very last one. Open it up. It wouldn't be that one. It would be the next one in, right? Be that one. Okay. And you can do these. Again, you don't have to put flaps here. And another thing I like to do sometimes is put double flaps. So we have one here and one here. You know, so you could put flaps anywhere you want. But that would be how you would do it. 1, 2. We're going to put ours here. Move that out of the way. Make sure I'm still recording, because every time I walk away I turn it off, and then I'm like, did I turn it back on? And I did. Okay. Now I could do this one. Let's see. Do it that way. Go to your edge and center it as much as possible and straight as much as possible. It needs to come up a little bit. There we go. So it looks slightly crooked. There we go. Oh, now I made it too much. Okay. Let's move that up a little smidgen. There we go. Okay, I'm on the struggle bus apparently with this one. Not sure why. Okay. There we go. So we've got our flaps made. And now what we're going to do, the next thing to do is put our ribbon on before we put our final binding on. And I mean, you could bind this with other things too. And then even after you bind it, sometimes, like this is what I'm using for binding. Sometimes after I bind it, I will put lace over top of it, or I will put a punch design in paper and put it over top of it. So you can play around with things like that. Now we want to find the center of our ribbon, because with the style I'm doing here, I want it to tie at the edge. Sometimes I have them tie in the middle, and then you would want longer one side than the other. But for this, we want it even, because we're going to tie it here at the edge. So that's the middle of our ribbon. We're going to put that at the middle of our book. And then I've got to go get my paper tape, because I have found that it is better to put this down with double-sided tape than glue. That just seems to work better for me. So let me go grab that. This roll's getting low, so hopefully I'll have enough for just for this part. But I found like with glue, it's just so messy to do it with the ribbon, because then it seeps through. Oh, I don't have enough, gosh, I have enough just for this little blip right here. Okay, so here I go again to get more double-sided tape. Thought it would have had more than that. Not to fear, I have more. I try to stay stocked in this for sure. This is a little bit thinner than that one. It sure is. Good bit thinner. Thought I had another one that size. That's about 1/4 of an inch. And this is, what, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even a little bit more. All right, I'm going to snip that extra edge off there. That'll just give us problems. And we'll just get our little nifty tool here to get our one side off. There we go. And then just put your tape, or I'm sorry, tape, but just put your ribbon down over it. And there we go. And you're going to be gluing. Now, if you want a good bit extra reinforcement, you could get another panel and glue it on top. But I haven't had any issues with just putting the paper over top. So, you know, you're going to put glue on here, so that helps reinforce it some, and then you're going to put your paper down. And then we will go ahead and do it on this side as well. I love how this paper tape tears. Need a little blip there. And I don't worry about the edge here, because we are going to really reinforce that when we put our, that's too long, when we put our binding on. I'll show you what I mean. I'll give it a really good gluing with that. And then we just pull this off. And put our ribbon down. Okay, now comes our binding, and this is our 2-inch cardstock scored in half at 1 inch. Even though it's scored in half, that's just to give us the idea where the half is. What I like to do is put it over top of this, we've got our fold there, put that in the center, and then just kind of mold it. So you're trying to have it, and it molds pretty well. You're trying to get it to get the shape of that spine for you. So that it, there we go, fits up against there really well. So I just like to do a little massaging and manipulating there to get it to form to that edge, if that makes sense. I find that really helps. There we go. So now what I want to do, I usually start with the back. So I'm going to put glue right here, and you can use either one at this point in time, because you can be pretty liberal with it. I pretty much do my 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac here. And don't worry about getting toward the center, because we're going to put glue in the center anyway. So now just go ahead and put that like so, where you were holding it. And squeeze. Now I'm going to turn it over, because this is the side I'm gluing. Okay. This is going to take a while to dry well, and I'm going to show you what I do, and hopefully you'll have something similar on hand, or could get yourself some at Dollar Tree. So we got our back on. Now I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to, especially in the center there, I'm going to give it nice, liberal. I'm going to soak that with glue right there. Not so much on the edges because you don't want it coming out and being all messy. But right there in the center, it's not going to hurt anything because it's going to go where we need it. And if it rides up, that's okay because we need to glue this front down too, right? And then we'll just go ahead and pull that over. Okay, now what I like to do, because this is going to take this a little bit to get set up the way we want it. I have a good friend of mine, got these for me at Dollar Tree. They came, I think they came with 6 on 1 or 3 on 1, I can't remember now. But they're padded here so they don't hurt your booklet. And they clamp nice and tight while your glue is drying. Ta-da! So now I'm going to set this aside. What I would do at this point if I was, making the full thing is I would go ahead and cut my papers. Now, I do have all the papers cut, so let me go ahead and announce what I've got for sale in my Etsy shop. So there's going to be 2 kits in my Etsy shop. One, since I made this for the video, one is going to have this booklet already made. So all you need to do is put the cut papers and the embellishments on it. And you'll have, the pictures to follow, or you can watch the video. And I do a walkthrough video as well. So you could either watch the walkthrough video to know where to put the papers. You could put the papers anywhere you want it. They don't have to be like this. That you'll have enough to cover everything. Okay, and then you're going to get the tags, you're going to get everything to make it just look just like this. All the papers, all the embellishments, and the tags. Not my photos, no. But I don't know who'd want them anyway. But, that's what's going to come in the kit. So the kit number 1 will have the already made booklet and the papers and embellishments. Kit number 2 is going to have these pieces and parts. So these are your panels. This is your, these are your panels. This is your flaps. This is your hinges, and this is your binding, and then your ribbon too. So if you get the one kit that is not assembled yet, you're going to make your booklet. So for someone who really wants to learn this concept, here's everything cut for you. And then in addition, you're going to get all the papers and the embellishments and everything to make it look like this. So one will have the pre-made booklet, the other one will have everything cut for you to go ahead and glue your booklet together and learn the process. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you check out the kits in my Etsy shop.